Perfect. So I'll wait for, let's say, around 2 minutes, right? I'll wait for maybe 2 more minutes. If there is anyone more to join, we'll wait for 2 minutes and then start. So if you'll have anyone on the group, right, who is not yet online, can you all just give them a call or, remind them and get them online? Yes, revision class students, you all will be anyway getting the recording of this. But the others, right, since I don't provide recordings for everyone, please make sure you're there, because in case you miss, it is your loss at the end of the day. So in case you all have friends who would have forgotten, right, just give them a call and maybe remind them on that case. Okay. Not loud enough, guys. I think if it's not loud enough, I think it is in case if you get a call in the middle of your let's say if you're on the phone, if you get a call and that gets cut, sometimes the volume goes low. In case there is an issue, I don't think there is an issue from my end. Just try leaving and maybe joining back. It should be sorted then. Okay, so far okay, this is 2011 if I'm not mistaken. Give me a second. Okay, can someone reconfirm, is this the 2011 question? Yes, we're starting with 2011 A levels. This is the 2011 question, right? I've got the correct question on board. Okay, perfect. So how many of you all actually attempted? Did you all try doing the question? No? Did? Ideally, I want you all to do it and come before we actually discuss. Yes, I'm hoping, guys, you all did and came, and you are not listening to my, explanation for the very first time, because then it takes time, right? So the plan today is to, let's say, if we can finish until around 2000, let's say 15, 2016. I'm not going to go very much in detail. What I will do is I will explain the questions right now. Unit 2 and 3, I think most of y'all are very comfortable with, right? We did a lot of questions, we did a lot of other things, right? So I think y'all should be somewhat comfortable and y'all are good with your theory in that. Ideally, okay, just a small reminder before we start. Revision class students, guys, I was not able to speak to you all. This is just for the revision class students. Those who are registering for this month, please make sure you all either pay the fees. Maybe I'll say latest, I gave you all the deadline today so that you all can get your tutes. So a set of tutes will be going out today. There's another set we are sending tomorrow as well. So if you can make your payment, in case you have not yet paid, tomorrow by 12 noon, right? Not 12 midnight, 12 noon, right? Maybe you all, there is a chance that you all might get your tute by Saturday, right? So we've been printing the tutes. I've been working on it. I've added a few interesting things onto the tutes. So you all will get it by Saturday once you all make the payment on that. Okay, that is for the revision class students. Others, don't worry, no payment for this program. Okay. 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 There's around 150. I think we are good to go. Let's start. Okay. Right. So 2011 A levels question number 2. This is essay questions. Question number 2. Question number 1. Okay. Easy as ever, right? So I want you all to give in answers as well. At least give in one answer, so I know most of you all have understood things, right? On the chat box, you can send a direct message to me. So list the main factors that determine consumer demand for a good. What are the factors? Factors that affect consumer demand. Yeah. So this is as easy as it gets. I don't think you all will get a question, as easy as this, right? So you can write the main determinant is definitely the price of the good, right? So price of the good is one, right? Apart from the price of the good, it's very unlikely you'll get a question like this, right? It's because it's very easy, right? You can say price of the good, you can say consumer income, right? There is consumer income. Then what else? Okay, exactly. Going with the answers that you all are giving me, we have consumer income, then we have price of related goods. Yeah, price of related goods. Then we have consumer taste, right? Comes from the very basic. So apart from that, I'll not type all, right? So apart from this, you have future expectations. You have, what else do you have? You can have government policies, number of buyers. Yeah, you can have all of those factors, right? So those are the normal factors that come into this. Guys, make sure when you're writing factor consumer demand, because looking at a few answers that were there, right? So look at this question, right? They're saying list the main factors that determine consumer demand. So make sure you give the 4 main factors. Now, some people have told me things like technology and things like that. Now, technology and things like that, right? Technology, yes. Now, there's another answers on climate, right? Now, those are, yes, those are things, right? But climate and those things come under other factors, right? So make sure, right, when you, yes, now we understand there's around 6, 7, more around, let's say 8 factors, no, right? Give in the main points, okay, right? I'm not saying the others are wrong. You will get your marks, right? But make sure you give in the main points, because then it would give a better impression to the examiner, right? Because that is very important, giving that impression there, okay? So you can write things like that. Government policies, yes, mainly is a determinant of supply, but apart from that, you can even take it under other factors affecting demand. It could come under maybe, you know, VAT and things like that. Yes, 4 factors are more than enough. You don't have to go more than that, right? So they will give you 1 mark for 1 factor, okay? So easy question. Question number 2, distinguish between, right, a normal good, inferior good, and a given good. So how do we do this? I'll give you all a very basic thing, okay? So remember this, when you're writing, let's say the difference between normal, inferior, and given. First, how you can differentiate is talk about, right, the relationship with price and talk about the relationship with income. Yes, so we'll go little by little, right? We'll not jump into everything. First, we'll talk about, right, question number 2, we'll talk about a normal good, right? So if you look at a normal good, what type of relationship does it have with price? Is it a positive relationship with price, or is it a negative relationship with price? Quantity, demand and this thing, normal good, it has a price. It's not a positive relationship, it's a negative relationship. Quantity, demand, and price here, right? So you can say, okay, so the demand for a normal good is inversely related to price. So that can be your first point. I'm just giving in point forms, you all write it in this thing, right? So demand for normal good is inversely related to price. So with price, it has a negative relationship. So if price increases, demand for a normal good will fall, right? Quantity demand. If price decreases, quantity demand will increase, right? That is that. Then with income, what type of relationship does it have? Demand for a normal good with income is, exactly, here it is positively related. So when income increases, we buy more of a normal good. When our income decreases, we buy less. So demand for a normal good is positively related to income, right? So you write about that. So first paragraph, what you do is you write about what a normal good is. So you have to make sure these 2 points that I have mentioned on the whiteboard is there, right? You do that. Then now you start with explaining a inferior good. Okay, so for an inferior good, what type of relationship does it have with price? Price, is it a positive relationship with price or a negative relationship with price? With price, inferior good. Sure, some are telling me positive. I'm saying price and quantity demand, is it positive or is it negative? Guys, remember, right? Even an inferior good has a negative relationship with price. So even for an inferior good, for example, maybe an inferior good can be a ceiling fan, right? So if the price of a ceiling fan increases, our quantity demand will decrease. So you can write this same point. So I'll copy it and paste it, right? Demand for a, not a normal good, for a inferior good, inferior good, inferior good is inversely related to price. So if price increase, the quantity demanded will fall. Then what is the changing point? This part is the changing point. So what type of relationship does an inferior good have with income? Income. If your income increases, do you buy more of an inferior good, or do you buy less of an inferior good? You buy less of an inferior good, right? So for example, ceiling fans, right? Let's say I was earning 50,000, right? Say I'm teaching right now, I'm earning 50,000 a month, right? So right now what I did, to my house I bought ceiling fans for all the rooms of my house. I bought ceiling fans. But let's say all of a sudden my income, let's say I have found another, let's say another source of income as well, right? So then let's say your income increases to, now my income increases, let's say 300,000. From 50,000 I got a 300,000 income now. So now what would I do, right? I would give up ceiling fans and I would switch to an AC. Why should I earn 300,000 and still be on a ceiling fan, right? I'll switch to a AC. So what happened when my income increased to 300,000? What happened to my demand for ceiling fans? My demand for ceiling fans fell. Income increased, demand fell. It has what? A negative relationship. When the income increased, demand is going the other side, right? Demand is decreasing. So demand for an inferior good, right? For an inferior good is what? Is inversely related, right? Inversely. Yes, you can talk about the substitution of income effect. I'll come to that point after I explain this. Inversely related to income, right? No, AC is not the inferior good. The ceiling fan is the inferior good. Guys, if you all are defining inferior good, how do you define an inferior good? What is the definition for an inferior good? Anyone? How do we define it? Inferior good. What is the main characteristic for a good to become an inferior good? Remember, right? Inferior good, right, is any good that has a negative relationship with income. A negative relationship with income. Any good that the demand and income has a negative relationship. That is, if income increases, if you're buying less of that good, it is a inferior good. If your income decreases and if you buy more of it, it is a inferior good, right? So that is what an inferior good is. Then normal good, you can say the definition is any good that has a positive relationship with income. So if your income increases and you buy more of it, it's a normal good. That's how you define it. Okay. Then we'll go to the final type, a given good. Now a given good, what type of relationship does this have? I'll talk about snob appeal goods very soon. With demand and price, demand and price has a positive relationship. So demand for a given good, right? Demand for a given good is positively related to price. So what, remember the example I would have told you all for given goods? Any of you all remember the example I gave you all? Whenever I explained given goods, what was the example I gave you all? What did I say? Rice and, no, I didn't say rolls, rice. Okay, bread. Okay, so exactly, I gave you all, I remember when I explained this story, right? So listen to me very carefully because I'll explain what a given good is, right? A given good is, right, it is an essential good, right? It's an essential good for a poor household, right? There's a poor household, a essential good for them. Now think there is a very poor house, right? A very poor house who is consuming, let's say, rice and chicken. Okay, that is the only two goods they are consuming. They're consuming rice and chicken. Okay, so even bread and chicken. Okay, anyway, rice and chicken, or remember bread and chicken. Then let's say, right, let's say the price of rice increases. They're consuming rice and chicken only, right? They're consuming two goods, that is rice and chicken. If the price of rice increase, you know how will they start thinking? Now they're a very poor household. Now they will think right? We don't even have the money to afford chicken now because rice is now very expensive. We don't even have the money to afford chicken. If the price of rice increase, you know what they will do? They will give up chicken because rice is essential now, right? They will give up chicken and they will spend all their money on rice. So when the price of rice increased, right, the quantity demand for rice also increased. Why? Because it is a essential good for a poor household. They gave up the chicken and they got that rice. They all understand the story, yes, of a given good, that it is an essential good for a poor household. Okay, so remember that carefully. Okay, so it's an essential good for a poor. Give me a second. Guys, revision class students, if you have forgotten, right, my advice is that, right, always go through the recordings that is there on the this thing, right? Essential good for a poor household. Okay, can't hear anything. There's people who can't hear anything. I think you have to leave and join back, right? And or connect to audio, right? So that is what you have to, right? So connect to audio, right? I sent the message to whoever who can't hear me, guys. In case you feel you can't hear me a little, I think that is an issue on your end, because if everyone can't hear me, I will get, you know, around 10-50 messages, right? So please leave and try and join back. Usually, you know, when you restart something, it works. So we'll apply that basic knowledge on that. Okay, right? So that is this thing, right? That is a given good. Again, to repeat it, it's an essential good for a poor house. There is a very poor house who is consuming rice and who is consuming chicken. The price of rice increased. What will they do? They will now stop consuming chicken. They will give up chicken and they will buy more rice. So when the price of rice increased, they bought more rice. So it is positively related, right? There's a direct relationship. Okay, then what type of relationship can you say this? What type of relationship does it have with income? A given good, what type of relationship does it have with income? Yeah, it has a exactly. It has a negative relation. Guys, remember, a given good is also an inferior good. So for and demand for a given good, right, is inversely related. Inversely, give me a second. Okay, inversely related to income. So I'll brief you all on this once again, right? Remember, there are three types of goods: normal, inferior, and given. So to differentiate between the three goods, what I'm doing, I'm using a very easy approach. I didn't even talk about the substitution effect, income effect yet, right? What am I doing? I'm saying, first talking about the relationship with price. A normal good, what type of relationship? Demand and price is a negative relationship. Then inferior good, it has a negative relationship again with price. But a given good goes against the law of demand. It has a positive relationship with price. Then what happens to the relationship with income? A normal good is positively related to income. So if income increases, you buy more. Inferior good, negative related to income. Given good is also negative related to income. Can we say that the quantity demand and the price of a given good has a positive relationship? Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying here. Demand for a given good is positively related to price. This first point that I'm highlighting. Do you all understand that story? Yes, guys, it's coming from a very basic, guys, right? In case you all are, you know, lost, that means you're missing a fundamental thing somewhere down the line, right? So go through whatever note that you have, whatever, I don't know, anything that you have, right? This part should be clear. And guys, I'm not teaching this for the very first time, because if I'm teaching this for the very first time, I will not use this approach, right? I'm teaching this to some person who has already studied this unit and who has done the papers and come to this class, right? Always remember, have that in mind. That is what I am assuming of the 183 people who are here. So last one I'm going to explain once again. Given good, it has a positive relationship with price. So if price increases, you will buy more. And it also has a negative relationship with income. So if your income decreases, you will buy less. Yes, you can talk about the substitution effect and uh, the income effect. So here you can say in an inferior good, you can say, okay, inferior good, you don't even have to talk about the substitution effect, income effect. Here, maybe if you really want to, talk about this in a given good, you can say, right, the income effect is much more stronger than the substitution effect. Now, remember I said, when I explained substitution effect, income effect, I said the substitution effect always complies with the law of demand, right? But why does a given good not comply with the law of demand? Because the income effect, right, is much more stronger, right? Now, this I explained last class, not last class, in the class previous to that. I'm not going to explain that again, right? So that is why coming for classes is important. So make sure if you want, you can highlight that point, right? You can say, you don't have to go to positives and negatives because right now in your syllabus, positive and negative part is not really needed. Okay, so you can say the income effect is much more stronger than the substitution effect. If you really want to say that in an inferior good, you can say the substitution effect is stronger. In a normal good, you can say both the effects are equal. Yes. Is essential good having zero relationship with income? Essential good, zero relationship with income? Not really. It should have a positive relationship with income to some extent. Okay. So that is 1 and 2. So we'll move on to question number 3, right? Question number 3 says, the price of personal computers has continued to fall even in the face of increasing demand. Explain this situation using an appropriate diagram. Now, this is a very interesting question. How can this happen? Now, usually, right? So I'll draw the diagram and show you, right? The price of personal computers has continued to fall even when there has been an increase in demand. So usually, right, we'll say we have a demand curve, right? We have a supply curve, right? Let's say this is equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. So usually if the demand increases, right? So personal computers, the demand have increased, but when the demand increases, what happens? The equilibrium price has to increase. Get it? The equilibrium price in the market has to increase. But here they are saying the price on personal computers, right? They're telling us the price of personal computers has continued to fall even in the face of increasing demand. Even when demand was increasing, they are saying the price of computers fell. How can this happen? Can you all give me a situation? It's not rocket science, it's an easy thing. Think, how can this happen? Demand has increased, but accordingly, normal diagram, when the demand increases, obviously price has to increase. But how did the price fall? Guys, the price fell, right? The price fell because, right? Listen to this very, very carefully, because the supply increased by a greater proportion than the demand. Now, let's say demand increases by a little here, the supply would have gone like this. It would have increased by a huge amount. Let's say by this much. Okay, now, okay, my diagram is bad. Let's say it increased by like this, right? A huge increase in the supply, right? So the supply increased by a greater percentage. So then can you see the equilibrium price now, right? Comparatively, the equilibrium price, what has happened? The equilibrium price has fallen. Even when the demand increased, if the supply can increase by a greater proportion, so maybe personal computers have now become the trend, right? There have been, maybe the supplies have increased, supplies in the market have increased, or let's say the cost of production has fallen, or let's say the technology has improved. Yeah, because of any of those reasons, if the supply increases more than the increase in demand, see, demand shifted, yes, we agreed. When demand shifts, yes, the price has to increase. But if the supply increases by a greater proportion, can you see my shift? Demand, I'm shifting by a little, but the supply curve, I'm shifting by a lot. Can you see the gap between the two supply curves, the blue and the orange? It's a huge difference. So if the supply can increase by a greater proportion, right, then the price can fall. So that is the explanation that you have to give. So remember, for this diagram itself, you will get around 2 to 3 marks. I'm not very sure how they would have broken down the mark. This diagram itself is a very important aspect, because there is not much theory that you can write in this answer, right? So this diagram alone will give you somewhere around, right, around 3 marks. Yes, so to recap this once again, okay, the question is saying, right, the price of personal computers has fallen even when demand increased. So we know now the blue lines I have drawn is the initial demand and initial supply. So this green line is the new demand curve. So when the demand increases in general, yes, what should happen? Price has to increase. But here in the question, they are saying when the demand has increased, the price had fallen. How can the price fall? The only way the price can fall is if the supply has increased by a greater proportion. Demand, yes, demand increased by certain percent. But if the supply increases by even bigger percent, a bigger proportion, right? A huge shift in the supply curve, can you see the equilibrium price now, right? It's fallen compared to the previous level. So this is how we can explain this story, right? It's an interesting question, right? But it's not a hard question. It's an interesting question that wants you to think a little bit. Is it inelastic in supply? No, there is no story there. You don't have to really touch on elasticity here. Not needed. Okay. You simply have to say your logic is, right? Your answer key point is this diagram, and your answer should say supply, right, has increased by a higher proportion, right? By a higher proportion than the increase in demand, right? If you can say that, and if you can draw this diagram, you will get your marks, right? So that is what is expected in this, right? Yes, I'm hoping that part is fine. Yes. Shape. Yeah, no issues, right? Shape. Okay. Then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, next question. Okay, now here they have a very, a basic tax question, right? I don't know if you will get a question as easy as this, but let's look at this simple tax question over here. They say, in this diagram, DD represents the demand curve, S and S plus T represent supply curve before and after a specific tax, right? And then they are saying, they have given you the diagram, right? You know the normal diagram now. When there is a tax, what happens? There is a leftward shift of the supply curve. And according to that, you should know which areas are consumer surplus, what is producer surplus, right? Comes from, basic things, right? Any teacher who would have taught you would have, in your diagram, right, would have told you this is consumer surplus, this is producer surplus, this is the consumer surplus. After the tax, right, revision class students, if you all have forgotten, go back to the video, go back to your tute. It's directly given, right? So at the equilibrium price before tax is imposed, what area represents consumer surplus and what area represents producer surplus? Can you all give me answers? I'll give you all a few seconds. Tell me what is consumer surplus, what is producer surplus before the tax? Yeah. Yes, don't just give me letters. Tell me this is consumer or this is producer. Don't just give me A, B, C, D, thing like that. Yeah. So that's a very easy question, right? Most of you all, not most of you, I think all of you all have got it right. Right. So going with the normal basics, guys, this part is our consumer surplus, this green triangle, right? And then which one is the producer surplus? It's this blue triangle. Give me a second to draw this blue triangle. Okay, so the producer surplus is B, C, N, A. All of you all got that right. So 2 marks there. Then they are saying after the tax is imposed, okay, after the tax is imposed on producer, what area represents consumer surplus? Which area is consumer surplus after the tax? Which area? Exactly, it is only G. Only G is consumer surplus. Guys, I'm not explaining logic behind how this became consumer surplus and why it became consumer surplus, because I'm pretty sure that any of y'all, right, who would have studied this unit is pretty much aware why that is that. Okay. Then they're asking what area represents deadweight loss of the tax. What is deadweight loss? Yes, producer surplus after tax is A. They've not asked it though. Which area is deadweight loss? Perfect. Deadweight loss is D and C, not D and G, guys. It is D and C. Okay. So this area here, this triangle is deadweight loss, D plus C. Okay. 2 marks there. Easy as ever. Part D, what area represents the revenue raised by the government? Which area? Exactly. The revenue raised by the government is this part. Okay, it's this part. Okay, sorry. So they've asked for producer surplus also in the second question. So producer surplus after the tax is A, consumer surplus is G, right? In case I missed that part. Okay, so easy as that. Okay, simple question there, guys. If you all want to, recap revision students, go watch, do whatever you all want over and over again. Okay, and there is what's the producer's selling price? So producer will sell at P2, the new equilibrium price. That is the selling price in the market now. Producer will sell at P2. He will give this amount as, he will give this amount as taxes, and he will only get P3. He will get P2 from the customer. He will give this amount as taxes, that is the unit tax. He will get P3. Yeah, raining network problem. Yeah, no problem. If you all guys, if you all have revision class students only, right? If you all have network issues, you all leave. Definitely the recording will be there. Unless something happens to my computer and the recording gets lost. If not, it will be there. So far, nothing has happened. Okay. So that is that with 2012. Easy paper, right? Could have easily scored marks, no? This question, first question, easily could have got the 4 marks. Second question, let's say even if you all are not that sure, from the 3 marks, you could have at least got 2 marks. This question was the, kind of a tricky or the interesting question. That is the third question here. So here, if you could have figured the diagram and let's say even you get 3 marks there. So 4, 2 and 3 is 9, right? I think this question would have been one of the easiest questions ever, right? You could have got all 8 marks for this, right? So 8 marks, 9 plus 8, you could have minimum got 17 marks. But if you were good at it, you could have got all 20 out of 20. How is that question manageable? Can do, right? Can score more than 15. For people who did, can you just logically mark your answers and see how much you all get from 20? Just, mark on your own. Got all 20? Nice. So be fair when you're marking all the, see what points you missed, how you all were, and okay. So most of you all have more than 15. Yes, don't worry. Even if you have got, 0 marks, if you have learned from all of it, right? That is the perfect thing. If you have learned from it, you learned where you went wrong, then you will not repeat it again. Okay. So don't worry at all, even if your marks were lower. Okay, done. So that is this, guys. This question, I think it's a easy question, right? I think this is the easiest tax question you can get. If you're not sure, just go and refer to whatever tut you all are studying. It directly will have this. Okay, done. Whew. 11 done. Take some time now, no? 11 done. So we'll go to 2012. Where is my 2012 paper? Sorry. Yeah, this was 11. This is 13. Okay, this is 2012. Yes, this is 2012. Have I got the right picture? Yes. Can someone confirm 2012? Okay, perfect. So the 2012 paper. Now see, these questions are very easy, right? I'll just go through the questions and I'll tell you which question can be a little hard here. First one says, explain the law of demand. Why does the demand curve slope downward? Law of demand, I think, like parrots, all of you all know, right? I remember even in my class, the fellow who is going to fail also knows law of demand. Negative relationship between price and quantity demanded when all other factors are held constant, right? So everyone, knows that. So that is the easy one. Then you have the second question, normal demand and supply, that telling you to calculate equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity, right? Very easy one there. Then price as of demand at equilibrium, easy thing, right? Then I think the fourth question, they're saying a guaranteed price. I think this is the question that might confuse a bit of students if you're not knowing guaranteed price. Then they are saying estimate the value of consumer surplus and producer surplus. Interesting parts. So if you know guaranteed price, this is nothing, right? It's simple as ever, right? But if not, it's a very easy calculus. So we'll go through one by one. Okay, law of demand. First of all, what is law of demand, right? Guys, I'm not going to type basic things here, right? Negative relationship between price and quantity demand when all other factors affecting demand are held constant at a given point of time. You write whatever definition that is there. Why does the demand curve slope downward? Why? Anyone? Why does the demand curve slope downward? Exactly. The demand curve slopes downwards. Why? Because of the income effect and the substitution effect. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. So the two effects, right? The two reasons why we have a negative in this thing is the income effect, substitution effect. Do you have to explain the two effects? I think maybe having a small explanation about these two will do, right? You don't have to go in detail and explaining what this is and what that is. Just have a basic explanation of what it is, right? Maybe within two lines. So how can you explain income effect? Okay, substitution effect will say in the first place. So what is substitution effect, right? When the price of a good increases, right, the price becomes relatively more expensive compared to a substitute. Therefore, people switch to the cheaper substitute. As a result, your demand falls, right? Substitution effect. What is income effect? Income effect is when the price of a good changes, right? I'll say changes instead of increasing, right? So what happens then? If the price of a good changes, the consumer's real income will change. A consumer's real income will change. When a consumer's real income changes, he is able to buy more or buy less, right? You don't have to go into very much detail. Give a very basic example, you should be fine. Okay, that is about that. Okay, I didn't go into detail. Okay, the second part, they're asking for equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Can all of y'all, if y'all have not done, can we start calculating basic things? People who have done, can you all tell me what is the equilibrium price and what is the equilibrium quantity? Yes, simple things. Others who have not done, QD equals QS. So 50 minus 5P is equal to minus 10 plus 5P, right? You do that, and then what do? You substitute and you can find out, right? So easy things, guys. You work this out, right? So you say, okay, 60 equals 10P, P is equal to 6, right? So you substitute it either to the demand or supply equation. Let's say I substitute demand equation, 5 into 6, I get a quantity of 20. So equilibrium quantity is 20, price is 6. Don't stop there. Remember, to get the entire full marks, write it nicely, right? After doing this working, say equilibrium price, right? Make sure you say equilibrium price equals rupees 6, equilibrium quantity equals rupees, not rupees, 20 units. So say this, equilibrium price equals rupees 6, equilibrium, equilibrium, quantity. Give me a second, this board is getting stuck. Quantity equals 20 units, right? So give your final answer like that, because that gives a better impression for whoever who is marking your answer, right? So do your workings, whatever things, your final answer should be just like the box that is there here. Okay, then 8 marks done. Then we go into the third question, an easy question. Calculate the price elasticity of demand at equilibrium. If you know the equation, it is not at all a difficult thing. So PED, what you can do, guys, remember, when you're calculating PED like this, it is better to give your answer in a minus number. Yes, they will not mark you wrong. If you give a plus number, they will still give you the marks, but it is better to give a minus number. Okay, because PED is always negative, right? So PED equation, you can say PED is equal to minus B, right? Write the equation. So minus B, you all know, no? Minus B is what? Change in QD over change in price. Minus B into price divided by quantity demand. So then how much is the B component in this equation? 50 minus 5B. So minus 5 is that part. What is the equilibrium price? 6. Equilibrium quantity 20. So you solve this, you will get an answer of how much? How much do we get? PD equals minus 1.5. So you give that, you will get your 2 marks. A very basic question, right? I think we even had MCQs on that area. Remember, PED, don't give it in any, there is no but minus 1 point, it's not minus 1.5 rupees, it is not minus 1.5%, it is nothing like that, it's just minus 1.5. Don't add anything in the end or in the beginning. Don't say rupees, don't say, you know, any nonsense, it's wrong. Okay, just minus 1.5. Okay, because some people, you know, when you keep it like that also it's an issue, no? Yeah, so people, you know, they add zeros sometimes, they do this and that. Don't do those. Okay, so far are we fine? The easy parts? Yes. Questions? No questions? You're all okay, right, so far? Right, so far we've scored 10 marks out of the 20. I think you all could have scored all 10 marks there, right? Easy thing. But now we go into the interesting part. They say, suppose the government introduces a guaranteed price. What is QS? QS is quantity supplied. What is minus B? Minus B is the slope of the demand curve. Minus B is only, remember, you have the demand equation QD equals A minus BP, right? So what is our B component? Change in QD over change in P. So this part, see, A is 50 minus 5P. Yes, it is the gradient. So that is what we put there. This minus 5 only, I've put it over here. Okay, done. Then coming into this, right? Can I explain third question? So guys, calculate price loss and demand. So what if the simple thing is, first if you know the equation, so remember the equation for PED, instead of minus B, you can say change in QD over change in P. Change in QD over change in P is only your B component, right? Remember your demand equation. Okay, so coming from a basic point there, just go and check that. If you're not little sure, that should be your point, right? You would have been confused with the equation. After that, it's a very easy thing. So price, you take the equilibrium price, quantity, you take the equilibrium quantity. Okay, just go and check whatever note that you looked at. It's definitely there. A easy point. Okay, then the fourth one. Suppose now the government introduces a guaranteed price of 8 rupees per unit for the producers in this market. What would be the total cost of this price support scheme to the government? Guys, guaranteed price, I'll explain the story, right? So listen to me very, very carefully. Okay, I'll switch to my Zoom whiteboard because I can draw diagrams easily on my Zoom whiteboard. I want you all to listen very, very carefully. Okay, do you all want a minute to breathe? Yes. Okay. It's not, all this detail is not needed, but I will explain because I feel this is a little bit important. Okay. I also had some water. Guys, have a water bottle near you, right? I have a water bottle near me because I don't have to run. Still breathing. I'm also still breathing. Okay. So I'll draw the diagram from scratch, right? Listen to me very carefully. At the end, you can take a screenshot and you can draw it on your own. Don't try to draw it now because you might miss an important story. Okay. So we have, right? So price, the price axis, and the quantity axis. We have a demand curve. We have a supply curve, right? So what am I explaining? I'm explaining guaranteed prices, right? Guaranteed prices. Can you all give me other words for these guaranteed prices? Because otherwise you all get confused. What are the other words? What else can we call this? Guaranteed price. Minimum price. Yes. What else? Minimum price. And yeah, price flow or flow price, right? So usually price. So all these three are the same thing. So we'll look at how exactly we have to look at this. Least price, yeah, maybe least price as well. But usually these are the terms that is used by the examiner. So when they tell you something like this, remember, I explained this in a Beyond the Classroom program. This has to come to your mind. So now tell me this first. They give you a guaranteed price, a minimum price, or a price flow to benefit whom? To benefit the consumer or to benefit the producer? Whom? Consumer or producer? Exactly, to the producer. So I'll explain this story, right? So you have, right, the supply curve, you have the demand curve. This is the price axis, right? All of you all know that. This is the quantity axis. So then where this intersects, we have equilibrium price, we have equilibrium quantity. Okay. So now there will be a situation, right? Now, why does the government intervene? The government intervenes because the government thinks that this equilibrium price is not fair. Now, in our question, how much did we get as equilibrium price, guys? Equilibrium price was 6, right? 6 and the quantity was 20, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So 6 and 20. So now in a situation like this, right, the government feels, right, the government feels that this equilibrium price of 6 rupees is not fair. It is not enough. For whom? It is not enough for the producer. Maybe this is a producer who is, let's say supplying rice, a very hard working farmer. He is, with hardly working, he is supplying rice, but he is only getting 6 rupees per unit. So what the government has decided, the government will then come and, government will come from somewhere and the government will say, listen, farmer, we want to help you out. Not, we understand the equilibrium price is 6, but we will promise you a price of 8. So the government will come and set this price at 8. This is what we call a guaranteed price or a minimum price or a price flow. Okay, so I'll say guaranteed price because that is what they have used in this example. Guaranteed price. So government has come, right, and set that price at 8. Why did the government come and set the price of 8? Because the government felt that it was unfair for the producer. Now, what happens when this situation comes? When there is a guaranteed price, there is a problem that happens immediately. What is that problem? There is some excess something. What happens? Exactly. There is a excess supply in the market, right? So when this guaranteed price, now see, at the price of 8, read the graph very carefully. At the price of 8, now suppliers are happy. No, when price increases, supply also increases. Now suppliers, for example, are willing to supply a bigger quantity. Guys, can you all calculate and tell me how much are the suppliers willing to supply at a price of 8? Our quantity supplied equation QS equals how much? Minus 10 plus 5p. So instead of p, can you all put 8 and tell me how much is QS? 30, right? So QS is 30 units. So at the price of 8, right? At the price of 8, the suppliers are willing to supply 30 units. But now, if you look at it, wow, supplier earlier was supplying 20. Now he is getting a higher price. He is supplying more also. Supplier looks happy. But there is a problem. Where does the problem come? The problem comes at this price of 8 now. When the price increases, the demand falls. So can you see at this same price of 8 now, right? How much is the demand? The quantity demand. So if you want to find out, substitute the QD equation. QD equals how much in our question? 50 minus 5p. So instead of p, you put 8. Then you get QD equals 10, right? So the demand is only 10 units. Now, can you see the problem here, right? Earlier, the supplier was selling 20, consumer was buying 20. They were fine. Government thought that this 6 rupee equilibrium is not enough. He came and guaranteed a price of 8. Then supplier was happy. He was going to supply 30 units. But then at that same price of 8 rupees, the consumer is only willing to buy 10. So now there is a problem. What is the problem? There is a problem of a excess supply. There is a problem of an excess supply. Now there is a huge issue. Now if the government comes and stops there, if government just comes, government announced the price of 8, and if the government stays quiet, there is a huge problem in the market. What is the huge problem? If the suppliers supply 30 units, right, they can only sell 10 units. This entire portion will be unsold. There is a problem. So government can't stop there. Government, right? Government has to implement, right? They have to solve this to make it effective. To make it effective, what does the government do? They have price support policies, right? Price support policies. Usually when we talk about price support, right, we talk about government, right, purchasing the excess supply. Then number two, what is the other method? Other method that the government can use to solve this problem. One is the government can purchase the excess supply. What is the other method? Anyone? Exactly. Government can do a deficiency payment, right? So they can do those. I'm not going to explain deficiency payment here, right? Because this question, I think, a government purchasing the excess supply is more than enough. So what does the government do now? The government, right? How do you find out the question is a government purchasing? Good question. So in this question, they have just said, can you see? In this question, they're just saying a price support scheme. Remember, when they are silent, when they say price support, and when they are silent, when they don't say whether it's government purchasing or whether it's a deficiency payment, right? It's generally assumed that government is purchasing the excess supply. It's the first one. It is the most common one. Okay. Usually, government will purchase the excess supply. Okay. So you go with that. So then, in a situation like this, what are they asking? Now, coming back to the question, now I'm hoping you all have the question, right? Look at your past paper book. Past paper book says, suppose now the government introduces a guaranteed price of 8 for the producers in this market. What would be the total cost of this price support scheme to the government? That is the total cost to purchase the excess supply. First, tell me, how do you figure out the total cost to purchase the excess supply? Total cost to purchase the excess supply. So which part is the government purchasing now? Now, when the price is set at 8 rupees, right? When the government is price set at 8 rupees, suppliers are willing to supply 30, consumers are willing to buy only 10. So this entire amount the government has to purchase. Government purchases this entire amount. So the total cost to purchase the excess supply is equal to, right, the excess supply, that is 20 units, right? 20 units multiplied by the price per unit. Government guaranteed 8 rupees per unit. So the cost to the government is how much? The cost to the government here is, right, is rupees 160. Okay, guys, if you do a deficiency payment, is it wrong? I'm not very sure because I don't know how exactly they marked it in this year. Because here the question is anyway a little vague, right? You could have used deficiency payment also, but the marking scheme gives only excess thing. But that's, I think they're going with the motion that you have to use the most common thing. Most common price support is government purchasing the excess supply. So it's better to go with that than going with a deficiency payment. So that this is the total cost to purchase the excess supply. Is that part fine? Yes. 4 marks there. Again, you get 4 marks. Remember, in a question like this, always draw a diagram. Then it's very easy for you to understand. Okay. Okay, a simple explanation on deficiency payment. Now, this is what we call government purchasing the excess supply. Now, what does the government purchase? What does the government do with this excess supply? Tell me that first. What do they do? Now, is the government coming and going to, give it to all the ministers? Is that why are they buying it? Why are they doing it? They're buying this excess supply, right? Mainly, one reason is to export it, right? To send it abroad. That is one reason. Another reason that they will buy it is to store it and keep. Now, sometimes there can be shortages of goods, no? So the government will buy it and store it and keep. So when there is a shortage, the government will put it out to the market. So usually those are the two reasons what the government, two things that the government does. Because otherwise the government can't do an issue like this. No, there is no point. No. Uh, a buffer stock is not really this. There is a buffer stock is not really in your syllabus. I'm not very sure. A lot of students have asked me on buffer stock, but I don't think, guys, don't worry about buffer stock. It's not really, you will not really get questioned in that extent. Don't worry. Okay. So what does the government do? Right? No, they don't give it free to the people. Right? They buy it, they export it, or else they will store it and keep. When there is a shortage, they will put it up. That is that. Now let's say, right, now this good, let's say there is no way of exporting, right, and there is no way of storing the good and keeping also. Then what do we do? Now government purchases this excess supply. They will store, they have to, do what? Either they have to export it, or either they have to store and keep and sell later. If they can't do both of that, what will they do then? If they can't do what they would do, then they would go into a deficiency payment, exactly, at the lower price. You know what they will do? They will not, if they can't do this, they will not purchase this excess supply. Then only we come to this second situation called a deficiency payment. What is this deficiency payment? Listen to me very good. Not in this question, not needed for this question. Listen to the story here, right? So in a deficiency payment, the government will not buy the excess supply. How will they solve it then? They will tell the producer, right? So the government promised the price of 8 rupees, no? So government will tell, right? So at the price of 8, producer is willing to supply 30 units. Government will tell the producer, okay, you go and find out, right, to buy 30 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? What is that nonsense? To buy 30 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? To buy 30 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? This price here, that is what the government is telling to go and find. At which price will the government buy the 30 units? Not the government, the consumers. Now, at the price of 8, suppliers are willing to supply 30 units, but consumers are willing to buy only 10. Issue. Now, government is not purchasing the excess supply also because they can't do anything. So the government will tell the producer, listen, you first go and find out, right, at which price will the demand be 30 units. So what the producer does, he basically, right, let's say very theoretical context, he takes the demand equation, right, QD equals 50 minus 5P. So he puts 30 to this QD and he finds the price. So he gets 5P equals 20, P is equal to 4. So he finds out that the consumers are willing to buy this entire 30 units at the price of 4, right? So he finds out that let's say he puts it in the demand equation, he finds out. Then the government will tell him, okay, consumers are willing to buy your 30 units at 4. No? You sell it to them at 4 rupees. That's fine. I promised you 8 rupees. I will give you the balance 4 rupees. You sell it to the consumer at 4 rupees, right? You will 4 rupees. Government will give it to you at government will give you the balance 4 rupees, the deficient amount. No, guys, practically they don't put it the demand equation and calculate. Practically in a real world, there is no demand equation. Okay. So government will say, consumer finds out that at 4 rupees, if he puts, he can do it. The deficient amount. What is the deficient amount? Deficient amount is the missing amount, the amount that is not enough. Consumer gives you 4 rupees. The deficient amount, that is another 4 rupees, the government will give. So the government will give 4 rupees for how much? 4 rupees for 30 units. They will give 4 rupees for 30. So the total cost will be 4 into 30, that is 120. Okay, that is that story. Guys, deadweight loss and all is a long story. I don't really want to explain into this because I have to teach you the logic behind deadweight loss. I can just show you what area is deadweight loss, but there is no point in that. Because if you, I don't know, if you are a revision class student, just watch the video. You will understand logic. Why 30? Because they are paying 4 rupees for 30 units. So 4 into 30, 120. Which method will they use? They will mostly use the first method, government purchasing the excess supply. Okay, so I'll give you all, let's say, a minute as Azan also. So try to figure out, right? Forget this part. Figure out this one. Forget the deficiency payment, right? Not needed. I just explained in detail. On this part, the next part, can you all figure out this? Can you all figure out the consumer surplus and producer surplus when this happens? I'll give you all a minute. Calculate. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you all really have to do here, right? First of all, you have to realize, right, when the price is set at 8, now the consumer is paying 8 rupees. He's paying a higher price. So consumer surplus falls. Only this small portion is consumer surplus now. This small triangle. So when they say to find consumer surplus, you have to find the area of the small triangle. Then the producer surplus. Now producer is getting 8 rupees, no? He's selling 30 units. He's selling 10 units to the consumers. The remaining 20 units he's selling off to the government. So he's selling a total of 30 units. So the producer surplus will be this entire thing. This entire thing will be producer surplus. It's not compulsory to write the equation, guys. If you draw the diagram, if you draw a proper diagram, then the examiner will give you marks. If you can draw this diagram, so this area in green is the producer surplus, that area in red is the consumer surplus. Now, how do we find this? Yeah. Okay, explain again. Data was over, rejoined. These are okay. Just to brief you all again, there is a guaranteed price set above the equilibrium price at price 8. At that price, there is a problem, that is the excess supply. Government is purchasing that excess supply. So in the fourth part, they're asking you what is the cost of that purchase. So government is purchasing 20 units of excess supply at a price of 8. 20 into 8, their total their cost is 160. That is the answer for number 4. Number 5, they're asking what is the consumer surplus, what is the producer. The consumer surplus is that red triangle up there. The producer surplus is the green triangle down there. Now, to find that consumer surplus, remember, you don't have enough data yet. You have to know what is the price here. And to find producer surplus, you have to know what is the price here. It's not starting from 0. We are not sure whether it's starting from 0. It's not starting from 0, right? So we'll find this. How do we find this price on top? How do we find this price? Now, this is something I explained like a lot of times. I've explained this. How do you find this price? Yeah, it's 10 exactly. But how do you do this? So this, yeah, you can go 50 divided by 5, that's fine. But the logic behind it, see, in this, the demand equation, the demand is 0, right? Can you see the quantity? Quantity is 0. Then what is the price? So you say our QD is equal to how much? 50 minus 5p. So when the demand is 0, what is the price? So 50 minus 5p, 5p equals 50, p equals to 10. So the price over here is 10. That is how you find it, right? I just showed it for the people who are not sure. How do I find the price for this, right? Now my diagram is a little bad. Ideally, it should not start from that point, right? It should start from little up. But how do we find it though? If you have to find it, we put to the QS equation. So QS is equal to minus 10 plus 5p. So at that point, the QS is equal to 0, right? So 0 equals minus 10 plus 5p. 5p equals 10. P equals 2. So the price here is 2. Now you have all the data needed to find the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. Can you all find and give me answers? Those who did not, I got answers from most of y'all. Those who did not find consumer surplus, area of that triangle, producer surplus, area of that triangle. Yeah. Basic question. So what is our consumer surplus, guys? Consumer surplus is equal to, it's equal to 10. Yes. Consumer surplus. How do we find? Half into what is the height? Height is 10 minus 8, that is 2. What is the base? Base is 10, right? Quantity. So this gives you 20 is equal to 10. How do we find through the equation? So equation, I don't recommend the equation because the equation confuses a lot of students. That's why I don't even teach all the equation is there in my tute, but I don't really go into the equation because it confuses a lot of students. So don't really find the equation way. So then producer surplus, how do we find again? Half. What is the height? The height is 8 minus 2, right? No, you don't have to write the equation when answering if you draw the diagram. If you are drawing a diagram, equation is not necessary. You can simply give the answer the way I am giving the answer, more than enough. But if you are not drawing a diagram, you have to give the equation because otherwise the examiner doesn't know where you got it from, right? Into 30. So this is equal to how much? Equal to 90. Guys, consumer surplus, produce surplus, you can give it in rupees, right? So say rupees 10. Say this is rupees 90. Can we write the equation in our own words? Maximum demand price. Yeah, you can write the equation in your own words. No problem. Equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity when deriving the equation. Equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity when deriving the equation. I didn't get you. Okay. Question not clear enough. So that's all you have to do. For that, you get 6 marks. It's an easy thing, guys. I just took some time to explain because a lot of students are not sure. Guys, these are base. Guys, I'll just tell you all this, right? Trust me. Trust me when I tell you all this. these units, right, are these units are the easiest units that you will get, right? Unit, I'll say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I don't know what you all do, right? If you definitely, if you want an A, or even the person who is looking at just passing will be thorough with these 4 and go. So please make sure, right, you're really, really good at 1, 2, 3, 4. The easiest units, right? Those 3 units alone, right? You can score around 110 marks. Okay, I'll say 100 marks. From your 200 marks, right? If you're very good with this 4 units, you can be, right? You can score how much? 100 and at least 100 or 105 marks, somewhere around there. So it is that important. Trust me, the units after this gets harder. Now revision class students will be starting unit number 7, right? It's not as easy. I'm not saying it's a very, very hard unit, but it's not as easy as these units, right? Because you know why these units are easy? These units are easy because you have done it long time ago. You have been doing it over and over again, right? So these are the units that is easy. So many teachers would have taught you this. So make sure you're thorough with these, because trust me, towards the end it gets a little tough. Having doubts in this, it is very hard to focus on the units that is there. So revision people, I think I made it very, very clear, right? December we took a week off, right? I wanted you all to properly, right, be thorough with unit 1 to 6 and put it aside, so we can start unit 7 with a fresh mind this week. Did you all do? No? Revision people? Properly go on through unit 1 to 6 and you're somewhat good with it? So we can, leave and start 7? No one? Okay. Few people have, right? Guys, I'm telling you all, guys, even if you have, right? So I'm telling you, the main thing, right? Yes, there can be units left, right? Please make use of the fact the recording is there, right? So watch it over and over again, but make it thorough. So other people also, I'm telling you the same story. You don't have to be coming to my class to do this thing, right? No matter whose class you go, when one unit is over, make sure you study it and you put it aside, right? Then go to the next unit. Because if you carry doubts from the previous, if you're not sure with the next previous unit, right, you come to this unit, you're not sure with this unit also, then it carries on and on. Then the workload in your head is too much. You don't understand anything. But after one unit is done, if you can take some time, right, study that unit and put it aside, that gives you a huge relief, that clears your head, so you can focus on the next unit. Because otherwise, when doing the next unit also, what do you think? You keep thinking, previous unit I don't know, what do I do with that unit? That is what runs in your mind. You can't focus fully. So no matter where you go for classes, I'm perfectly fine with that, right? Follow that strategy if you want an A, right? Study one, finish it off. Go one by one. Don't wait, last moment after the sir has finished teaching all the 12 units, I will start studying all the 12 units. Will never ever work, right? That is there. Guys, okay, purchase recording stuff I'll not talk about here. You can purchase the recordings on the website. Go to the website, click on it. You can do that. Maybe on WhatsApp, just text me. We'll look into that. Right? But I'm telling you, no matter what, please follow that. Otherwise, things get hard. Okay, which units are y'all in school or in whatever class that y'all are going to? How many units have y'all done? 8? Others? 6? Okay, which unit is school or class or anything? Where have they done the most? Okay, starting 7. Okay, so somewhere there, right? Okay, now most of you all, so highest I think the number I got is 8, right? Okay, some people 9 also. Now, okay, okay, if school is in 3, that means a little small problem with school. They'll have to start, right? So make sure, right, you're thorough with those units, because without being thorough with now econ will get hard and hard. The units are not getting easy, right? So if you don't study the easy unit and put it aside now, right, the end units are going to get tough. Trust me, it will get tough. Okay, because you, for those end units, you have to focus, you have to give your full focus, right? Now revision classes will be starting that on Saturday, right? Money and banking, right? It will take some time, right, to finish. Ideally I'll be sending unit 7 and 8 tudes. Will be taking, I think, somewhere around 1.5 months to finish both those units, but it is technical. You need to focus when doing that. You only can focus if you are confident with the previous one, if you have studied and put it aside, right? So make sure, no matter whose class you go, where you study, even if you are a candidate studying privately at home without any classes, right, you will have questions with you, you have a past paper book, you have at least some note with you, right? So make sure you go one by one, right? Please do that, otherwise it gets tough at the end. That is where every student messes up. Telling you all, in January, don't start worrying about it somewhere around May or June, right? Telling you all now itself. Yes, you can target questions in the exam. Right now, I will not want any of you all to target. Right now, I want you all to go prepared for everything. Towards the end, I'll tell you all what to target and what not to target. That will do. Right now, everything should be the thing. You have to be confident with all the units, right? Because come on, that is the ideal. Now, see, trust me, I also target questions and went. I'm not saying I was 100% okay with all the units, but I don't target, in the start of A levels, right? Towards the end, when after I have done all the past paper questions, I figure out these lessons are easy to me. Then I start targeting. Don't, for God's sake, don't target now itself if you have not done the questions. Because trust me, there are students who find some other questions easy than some other units. Come on, you all are different people. Not everyone is the same, right? So that thing is there. So please work on that. Okay. Okay. So we're done with this. Fast track, I've not yet decided date. It'll ideally be on Saturdays. I'll look into that later when we start on April. So that is that with this question, right? I'm hoping you all are okay. Please go through it, guys. It's a basic question. If you're blank, means there is a fundamental problem in wherever you studied. That means you have not studied or not gone through. So please do that on your end, right? Because it feels bad for me also when when you all don't understand, because this is not rocket science at the end of the day. Yeah. So hoping you all got a screenshot. So take 5 minutes off. I'll give you all a 5-minute break, right? And then we'll start the next question. Okay. So take 5 minutes off. 6:25. Be back. Okay. Back. Yes. Done, guys. I was in a break. That's why you couldn't have heard me. We took a 5-minute break. Okay. Are you all back? Yes. No. Done. Okay. Right. So I'll not waste time, talking about motivation to this and that, right? How to get things done. I think I made it very, very clear on Saturday, right? Most of you all were there. It was good to see most of you all there, right? So I'm hoping you all do have a plan, right, to somehow get it done, right? My thought is, if don't settle for something less than A, right? I think it's a waste of 2.5 years of your school life, right? It's not an impossible task even right now in Jan, right? If you can have the proper mindset. I gave you all a plan last Saturday, right? Whether you stick to that or not, that's up to you. Whatever said and done, right? Make up your own plan. If not, right? And make sure you work hard for it. Give everything you have. Okay. Just telling you all that simple thing. uh should we study one chapter and do all papers, and study all chapter and do papers? Study one chapter, do all papers. That's how it will work. Other way will not work. You study one chapter, do all the papers, go to the next. Okay. Right. 2013 A levels. Okay, 2013 A levels. First question. Mm, describe the signaling and rationing functions of market prices. Now this comes with unit number 1, product. What is the signaling function and what is the rationing function, guys? Anyone? Signaling function. Signaling is the informative function that price gives you signals. So when the price is high, it gives the producer a signal to go and increase his supply. When the price is low, it gives you another signal. Price is high in the sense it gives you a signal that maybe there is a shortage in the market, right? Or things like that. That can be, right? Then what is the rationing function? The rationing function is that it's the allocative function where you allocate goods, right? So the rationing function is where, let's say, for example, remember, I know my revision class, when I explained this, I took an example of a World Cup match, a World Cup ticket. Why is that World Cup ticket price? Now, when you're watching cricket matches, right, you go to a normal cricket match, right? The ticket is somewhere around 300, 400 rupees. But when you go for a World Cup price, right, a World Cup ticket, which is played in the same stadium and which is played in the, same lights and same teams and everything, why is that price high? It is because you have to ration, because in a situation of a World Cup, the demand is very much high. So how are you going to allocate that limited seats to all those people? You increase price. That is what we call the rationing function. You're allocating it, right? Guys, definitions are not, type definitions here in whatever tube that you all are studying, or even behind this past paper book. The definition is there, 2013 question number 1. So make sure you are okay with that part. Okay, that is there. Then coming into the second question, name 4 major non-price determinants, right? Non-price determinants of supply for an industrial product. What do you think? Non-price determinants, what are the non-price determinants? Yes, taxes and subsidies, technology. Yes, guys, I'm not going to type, right? Basic things. So jot things down if you're not sure. So prices of related goods, right? Price of inputs, yes, or cost of production, government policies, that is the taxes or subsidies, the technology used, the number of suppliers. Yes, you can write those things, right? Very, very basic. What are the factors affecting supply? Okay, easiest 4 mark you can ever get. Okay. Yes, and also make sure when you're writing this, when you're writing 4 non-price determinants, don't write other factors, right? I'm just telling you all that. You might not get marks. Maybe say other factors and within brackets, say a few things, but don't just say other factors. Because other factors means some other factors. There can be different factors. You have to state what that factor is. Okay. So I'm just telling you how to score more marks there, right? You can make those small mistakes, right? So then question number 3. Some of the data relevant for market demand and supply are given below, right? Assuming both demand curves and supply curves are linear, derive the equation for market demand and the market supply curve. Usually in a question, they give you the demand and supply equation and ask you to calculate equilibrium. But here they have not given you. They've given you the table. They've given you a demand and a supply schedule, and they're asking you for the equation first, and then they're asking you to calculate equilibrium. So how do we find the equation, guys? Basic. I think these are the first things that you all would have learned when you all are studying this chapter, unit number 2, part 3. So how do you find the demand equation? QD equals A minus, guys, whoever who found, can you all put in the answer? A minus BP. So first, what do you do? First, you have to find your B component, right? So what is your B component? Your B component is change in QD over change in P, right? So give me a second. Okay. You first work on your B component. What is your B component? I don't have change. I'll use this small, guys, that symbol. Okay, I'll use this symbol. Okay, so change in QD divided by change in price, right? So change in QD is how much? Change in QD is 84. So when the price is 4, QD is 84. When the price is 8, QD is 68. So what is the change from 84 to 68? The difference is 16, right? It's going minus 16, right? So that is how you get a minus B, no? Right? So the price is a plus 4. Okay, so minus 16 divided by 4, your answer, your B component is equal to minus 4, right? Now what do you do? Now you have to find your A component. How do you find your A component? You have to substitute. So how do you substitute and find your A component? So you know QD equals A minus BP. So for QD, put a number that is there in this. So we'll put the 84 minus 68, 78. Yeah. So yeah, 84 minus 68. That's how I got the 16. Yeah, changing QD. Okay. So QD equals this. So now for QD, put how is the minus? Okay, how is the minus coming here? It's going from 84 to 68 now. So it's decreasing. That is why I'm putting a minus. Now here it's a plus going from 4 to 8. That is why I'm putting a plus here. So remember, change, this B component will always be negative no matter which equation. Okay, demand equation, B component, as long as it's a normal good, it's negative. Okay. So then, okay, coming to this, now you have to find your A component. So how do? You put in a value here. Let's say you put 84. A, B you found is a minus 4. Guys, don't put minus 4. That's wrong. Just keep minus 4 multiplied by what is the price? Price 4. So any combination, you can either put 68 and 8 or 84 and 4. So you do that and then you get A is equal to 100. Right? So you get A equals 100. So you find your A component, you find your B component. Now you write the equation down. So QD equals, instead of A you say 100, instead of B you say minus 4. That is your demand equation. Can you all follow the same steps and calculate the supply equation? Make the supply equation for me, easy one. Make the supply equation. Take some time. Yeah, got some answers already. Others? What do you all think? The supply equation. Okay, minus 20 plus 8. Okay, so supply equation. Let me show you all how to make this. Right, it's simple things. Right, QS is equal to A plus BP. First step is to find your B component. What is B? Your change in quantity supplied. Right, change in quantity supplied divided by your change in price. So what is your change in quantity supply? From 12 you're going to 44. So what is the difference? 12 to 44, 32 divided by your change in price is 4. So 32 divided by 4, you get a plus 8 there. That is your B component. Then how do you figure out your A component? You have to substitute now. QS equals A plus BP. So let me take the 12 is equal to A plus B is how much? 8. 8 into P is 4. Right? So I do that. Then I get A equals, so 8 into 4 is 32 minus 32, A is equal to 20 minus 20. Right? So now what do? I write the equation. So what is my QS equal to? QS is equal to minus 20 plus 8P. Right? So this comes from the very basic thing. Okay, how does the 4 come? This 4? This 4 I'm taking any combination. So I'm taking 12 and 4. So I'm taking this combination, 12 and 4. If not, I can take 8 and 44. Anything is fine. Okay. So are we okay there? Shape? No? Anyone lost? Yes, I'm hoping you all are fine. Okay. As people, yes, you can be right now. Trust me, I'll tell you all this, right? In case you're struggling in these areas, right? In case you're somewhat lost, put in some extra effort. These are the basics, I'm telling you. How did minus come there? Minus come where? Minus come here? Yes. Yes, you can take any point. You can take 18 and 4. Is this minus are you talking about? Yeah. Okay, so how did the minus come here? So you had 12 is equal to A plus 18 to 4, 32. So I take the 32 to the other side, it becomes 12 minus 32, right? Equals A. So minus 20 equals A. 12 minus 32 is a minus 20. That is how that minus. I didn't show you all the steps because I thought you all had figured it out at home. Fine now? Okay. So that is that. Done. Then they ask you, now see, this is an easy 4 mark, right? You will not get 4 marks as easy as this, right? The next one, they're asking you now to calculate equilibrium price and quantity. Now, if you got the demand and supply equation wrong, your next question is also wrong, right? So based on the demand and supply equation you calculated in this question, you have to calculate your equilibrium price and quantity. Now this you all are expert, no? QD equals QS, right? You all can do your normal calculation. So guys, I'm not gonna waste time showing the QD equals QS thing, right? I'm hoping you all are good at it by now. Okay, so I'll just give you all the answer, right? You equate QD and QS, right? That is the answer here. So for your fourth question, right, all what you have to do, QD is 100 minus 4P is equal to minus 20 plus 8P. You do that, you will get your equilibrium price. So I'm going with the answers that you all are giving me. Price is 10 and the equilibrium quantity is 60, right? Basic things. I'm hoping at this level you all are okay. So I'm not going to waste time. Okay, now the fifth question. The fifth question they're telling you, assuming that the government imposes a specific tax of 3 per unit and compute the price received by producers after the tax and the tax revenue of the government. Interesting question. Can you all work on that? Nice question. So there is a tax, right? So first of all, can you all work on the new supply equation? Remember, when there's a tax, you have to change the supply equation. Can you all do that first? Yes. New supply equation, 44 minus this thing. So for people not sure, right, how do you work with this? When there is a tax, the supply equation changes. Remember, QS equals A plus B, within brackets you have a P minus T. So what is your new supply equation then? QS, our A component was minus 20, our B component was 8. So here you have P minus 3, right? Give me a second, stuck again. Okay, P minus 3. Then what do? You work on it. So QS equals minus 20, 8 into P, 8P, 8 into 3 is a minus 24. So then if you solve this, you get your new supply equation, that is minus 44 plus 8P. That is your new supply equation. Now they're asking you for the government tax revenue. Now to find the government tax revenue, you have to find the new equilibrium quantity. Guys, remember, when you have a question like this, draw the diagram. Otherwise you get confused. Even at my level, without the diagram, sometimes I get confused. Right? So draw a rough diagram, right? So demand, supply, right? You had equilibrium price, and then what happened? There was a new supply curve as a result of the tax. Okay, give me a second. Supply curve shifted, there is a new equilibrium. So now we know the previous equilibrium price and quantity. Previous thing you all calculated. Price you all said is 10, quantity you all said is how much? 60, right? That we knew. So 10 here is 10 and this is 60 here. So now from your new this thing, can you all tell me how much is the new equilibrium price and new equilibrium quantity? What is the new equilibrium price and new equilibrium quantity we get? Yeah, so how do you find the new equilibrium price and quantity? Very simple thing, right? The new supply equation, you equate it to the same demand equation. So 100 minus 4P equals minus 44 plus 8P. So now you get your new equilibrium quantity. So new equilibrium price is how much? Going with the answers that you all are giving me, new equilibrium price according to you all is 12 rupees. the new equilibrium quantity you all are saying is 52, right? So I'll go with those answers. So rupees 12 and the quantity is 54. So then I'll mark those as well. So I'll make the diagram easy. So then once you all have figured out the diagram, it's a very easy thing to calculate. Okay. So here, okay, give me a second. My board is stuck again. Guys, is there any other teacher who uses a different whiteboard? Just for clarification, any better whiteboard than the Microsoft whiteboard? The Zoom whiteboard is there. Zoom whiteboard has shapes and things like that. Okay, 52. Sorry. Okay, equilibrium quantity 52. Okay, I don't know. I'm going with your answers. Someone would have told me 54. Okay, 52. Just let me know in case there is a better whiteboard app. I have not tried the other apps. Right, I've tried the Zoom app. Zoom one is good, but Zoom one I can't put pictures. That is why I don't use the Zoom whiteboard for yours. Right? So because I put the screenshots of the papers here now. So I can't put those paper screenshots in the Zoom whiteboard. So that's why I'm using this. But this one is, I think, it's a little. The worst part, the thing I hate about this whiteboard is that it doesn't have lines. Now to draw a straight line, a demand curve, see the amount of struggle that I go through. See how bad my diagram is. That is the issue there. Okay. So if there is there's an app called Explain. I'm not heard. I'll try. Microsoft Word, I think that is even annoying, guys. Microsoft Word it's possible, but I think it's an annoying thing. Not that flexible. Jamboard. Okay. Yeah, diagrams are getting a little better, no, compared to my diagrams at the very beginning. PowerPoint also you can, but PowerPoint I think it takes time to draw the diagrams. Ideally, Zoom is the easiest. I'll try PowerPoint also. How do you get the new equilibrium price and quantity? How do I get the new equilibrium price and quantity? I equate the new supply with the demand. So QD equals the new supply now. So you equate this. Earlier you did QD equals 100 minus 4P equals minus 20 plus 8P. Now what you do is 100 minus 4P equals minus 44 plus 8P. Then you can find the new equilibrium price and quantity. Microsoft Whiteboard. Yes, I'm using the Microsoft Whiteboard. I'm asking you for alternatives for this because it gets a little stuck. I know maybe my laptop is old. Not that old, but it's kind of a good one, but I don't know. Okay, so how do you find the tax revenue, guys? Remember revision class people? Steps I told you. New equilibrium point. You draw a line down to your old supply curve. You connect that box. So that part is this. No, guys, I will not finish unit 2 and 3 today. There is 7 more papers. I think it will take another 2 classes, right? So this, how do you find the number over here? Remember, the unit tax is 12 rupees. So if this upper number is 12, sorry, unit tax is 3 rupees. So if this upper number is 12, the number down here has to be 9, right? So remember that, because this distance here is the unit tax that you all know, right? Any diagram, this is the unit tax. So the government is imposing a tax of how much? 3 rupees. So if this is 12, for this to be 3 rupees, this has to be how much? 9, right? So that is how you find the tax revenue. So how much is the government tax revenue? It's the area of this box, the yellow box. So 3 into 52. So you can say unit tax 3 rupees, new equilibrium quantity 52, 3 into 52, they are collecting a tax of how much? Rupees 156. So simple question there. So government tax revenue is how much? Rupees 156. That is 3 into 52 equals 156. So you can say rupees 156. That is the government tax revenue. Which classes do I upload the recordings, guys? I upload the recordings of all the classes. 56. It's there in your Google Classroom. In case you're a revision student and it's missing, drop me a text. I'll sort that for you. All past papers record. Yes, all past paper recordings are there for revision class. I can't see your name because your name is a bit too long. It's not, entire name is not coming on the chat box. So I am not very sure if you're a revision student or not. But if you are one, it's there. We have a Beyond the Classroom Google Classroom, all the recordings are there. Okay. Okay, are we okay with this shape? Fine. Easy question. Okay. Okay, revision student, drop me a message. I'll sort it out for you. Okay. So that is the government tax revenue. And then they're asking you, there's an interesting question here. They're asking you, and compute the price received by producers after the tax. What is the price received by the producer after the tax? Now, usually questions, they ask you for the equilibrium price. Now, new equilibrium price, all of us know it's 12 rupees. But they are not asking you for equilibrium price here. They are asking you what is the price received by the producer after the tax. So what is the price the producer is getting? The equilibrium price is 12 rupees. The producer is paying 3 rupees of taxes. And at the end, he is actually getting only 9 rupees. So this is the price that he actually gets. He collects 12 from the customer, true, equilibrium price, right? He gives 3 rupees away and then 9 rupees. Yeah, something like that. It would be easy if our paper is similar to this. You will get a paper similar to this. You do all the past papers and go, your paper, 80% of your paper will be from past papers. Trust me and go, right? You can score somewhere around 70 to 80 marks simply from, if you're very thorough with your past papers only. Because trust me, there is no question like that. Remember I explained in the seminar, right? This is a subject that is not changing, right? All the questions that they can test is already tested, guys. So what they will do, they'll change the words here and there, they'll change the numbers. That is all they can do. So if you're thorough with your past papers, things get very much easy. That is exactly why I'm doing this class in the first place. Otherwise, I'll not be doing this, wasting all my time. Okay? So don't worry about that. BS paper, no, it's not the same. Sadly, BS paper has become very, very practical now. It's been very practical, and they question you. Guys, remember business studies, people doing business studies, don't take it for granted. It's not an easy paper anymore, right? It was easy. Passing business studies is easy. Getting an A for business studies is harder than getting an A for econ. I'll tell you all that, right? So because business studies, you have to practically think more, right? So anyone doing business studies, right? How did I get 156? So 3 into 52. That's how I got 156. Okay. So business studies, guys, I don't know. Studying, actually, you should have you should know your theory, right? Apart from that, you have to be very open-minded. Now, this is a good thing. It's good, right? The paper is good. I like that fact. It's not, memorizing and studying, because there is no point, people memorizing things. And BS was okay for me. I did it well, but I'm just saying, right? Because there is no point testing a person's memory, right? So no, that's the issue there. Now that's a good thing. In If you look at London syllabus papers, right, I teach those classes as well. It's very practical. Even the econ paper, right, they will never get questions like this. There is no, these questions you can do past papers and go and do. Their question, you have a story for around 1 page, right? They will tell you a story about a country. This country is facing this issue. There is a thing like this, and then they will ask you questions. It's a very interesting paper also to do, right? So they are not really testing your memory. They will give you, let's say, 12-mark question. Just for writing the theory, you'll get somewhere around 3 marks. It's your analytical skills that they bring out. So it's really good there. Now our education system has a flaw. This system is, there's an issue. Now I can't change it, right? So you have to go with this way. This is actually very easy compared to this thing. Is ICT easy than BS? I have not done ICT, guys, so I can't really comment on that. Business statistics, no, I have no idea. I have not done business statistics as well. Okay, so I'm just telling you all, right? Business studies students, please do it. Okay, price received by the producer, yes, it's 9. Past paper questions, I'm telling you, business studies past paper questions alone are not enough, right? Okay, so this is it with this. Okay, do you all want to start 2014? We have 9 minutes to go. Or do you all have questions to clarify? Counting is very much past papers. You can do, it's the same thing. Counting, come on. I think they changed a little bit now. Other time it's the same thing they repeat over and over again. Okay, next week or this week? But it has 2 questions also. It's an issue. Next week? Okay. So many questions. this week, next week. Okay, but anyway, within the next 2 classes, I will finish this part. Okay, 20 unit 2 and 3 will be done, because we'll have to work on this thing, our papers that we will be doing. I think there is a small pause in that because I've been very busy working on your tutes. Now I'll just show you all a glimpse of the tute. Right, I was working on this. So this is a part of your tute that you will be getting. So I was working on this. So this was a very interesting part on the fiscal performance. This is something that I got from I was reading the central bank report these days, and working on it. So it was actually a very interesting part. It gives you an entire summary about uh, things there. So it's a good thing, right? So actually that is why it took me time. Yes, and also I'm wondering if there is anyone, if there is colored tutes. Only this page is colored. I printed this colored. I didn't print the entire tute colored. Normal tute is black and white. This page is colored. You all will get this page as colored. So good things. The best thing is now, the good thing is I am printing my tutes all by myself. So I have a print at home now. So that's why it's taking more time. So I've been printing the entire day today as well because I had to send it. Things there. Yes, pic was taken from central bank. I didn't design that. SEMA syllabus, practical questions. SEMA syllabus is also okay. Not okay. Right. Before I end this, just want to let you all know. Okay. This is where we are at now. We did 3 papers, 11, 12, and 13. We have 2014 to 2020 left. Within the next 2 classes, I will do it. Any teachers who will start a fast track for business and accounting. Accounting, I think Shihan sir will do. Business studies, we have not done anything there, really. That is there. Do we need to have new and old syllabus in 2019? No, I'm just doing the paper because I have the paper. If you want, it's just extra questions, same questions that is there. Okay. 2013, yes, I'll explain any doubts if you have in 2013. Right. So for all those who are there, you must have classes as well as 7. Yes, ideally I want accounting free program. I don't know if you know, let me know as well. There's a lot of students asking. Okay. Just to let you all know on this, we might have a few extra classes on probably on Sundays, right? Sundays we might have because we'll have to finish this. I don't think my plan was to finish it by the end of March, but I don't want to rush it too fast. I can go too fast, but I feel that there is a issue with a little bit of students here as well. You all take some time to grasp concepts, right? So that is why I'm going slowly, right? Obviously I can finish it by March by just telling you all the answer, but I don't want to do that because I feel you all will miss out. But please go through the units, go through whatever you all have, do the papers and come, so we can try and finish as much as possible. Okay, so plan is to finish by March. Even if we can't finish by March, we'll do maybe a month or 2 more, right? Depending on my schedule, my exams, university, and all of that is also there. But I will try to commit and do my level best. On your aspect also, please do that. When you join the revision classes, will you get the old recordings of BYC? Yes, you will get the old recordings of BYC. It's all in one Google Classroom. We'll just add you. You can watch all the old ones as well. Okay, so I'll not drag it anymore, guys. So people coming next week, please come next week, right? Do the past papers 2014 to maybe 2018, somewhere around there, right? Do it and come. Probably next 2 classes we'll finish. Okay, so I'll end the recording from here. Any other questions, you all can stay and clarify. Okay, so see you guys. Good night. Bye.